There was a time when pressing play could get you into trouble. Not detention, not a warning. Real fear from parents, teachers, and even governments. These songs were not just music.
Under my thumb, she's the sweetest.
It's rebellion and danger wrapped in melody. And if you were a kid in the 60s, you were never supposed to hear them. Number 13, My Generation by The Who. The moment this song hit the airwaves, something shifted. It did not sound polite. It did not sound safe. It sounded like a generation cracking under pressure and finally shouting back. That stuttering vocal was not just a style. Adults believed it mocked disability, while kids heard something completely different. They heard anger. They heard truth struggling to break free. What made this song dangerous was not just the sound, it was the attitude buried inside it. A refusal to respect authority, a willingness to burn everything down before growing old. For parents raising obedient children, this was a nightmare disguised as a record. Radios were switched off, stations hesitated. The fear was simple. If kids heard this, they might start thinking for themselves. And once that happens, control disappears. Number 12, 8 Miles High by The Byrds. 8 miles high. At first, it sounded like a strange dream drifting through the sky. But the title alone was enough to spark suspicion. High meant drugs. That was all it took. No investigation, no deeper meaning, just immediate rejection. Radio stations pulled it before most people even understood what they were hearing. Yet the truth was far less scandalous and far more fascinating. The song was about travel and disorientation, the feeling of landing in a new world and losing your sense of reality. But adults did not care about nuance. They heard what they feared. And in the 60s, fear always pointed toward drugs. For kids, this made the song even more irresistible. If something was banned, it had to be worth hearing. And just like that, a misunderstood track became a secret anthem passed between young listeners who wanted to feel something different. Number 11, Brown-Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. It feels harmless now, warm, nostalgic, almost innocent. But back then, a single line was enough to trigger alarm bells. A moment of young love described too vividly for conservative ears. That was all it took to turn a sweet memory into something dangerous. This is where the fear becomes revealing. It was never really about the song. It was about control over youth. Authorities believed that even the smallest hint of romance could lead kids down a path they could not control. So they cut it, edited it, cleaned it, tried to make it safe. But something always remained underneath. A quiet rebellion hidden in a melody. And for kids listening closely, it was not just a love song. It was a signal that even the simplest emotions could be forbidden. Number 10, Under My Thumb by the Rolling Stones.
Under my thumb, she's the sweetest.
This was not subtle. This was not misunderstood. This was direct. A voice claiming control over another person with chilling confidence. At a time when radio tried to present clean and respectful images, this song cut through like a blade. It did not ask permission. It declared dominance. For adults, this crossed a line that could not be ignored. The lyrics painted a picture of power that felt wrong even in an era already filled with contradictions. Critics called it disturbing. Stations hesitated. Some refused to play it at all. The fear was not just about what the song said. It was about what it normalized. If kids absorbed this message, what would it do to their understanding of relationships? What kind of world would they create if this became their soundtrack? And yet, that tension is exactly what pulled listeners in. It felt real, unfiltered, like a truth nobody wanted to admit out loud. And that is what made it dangerous. Number 9, Love Me Two Times by The Doors.
Love me 2 times, baby.
Sometimes all it takes is a title. Before anyone even listened closely, the damage was done. Love Me 2 Times sounded suggestive. Too suggestive. And in the 60s, that was enough to trigger bans across multiple stations. The assumption was immediate. This had to be inappropriate. But beneath the surface, there was something deeper. A sense of urgency. A feeling that time was running out. That this connection might not last. The words carried tension that went beyond simple desire. But broadcasters did not care about interpretation. They reacted to instinct. And their instinct said, "Shut it down." That reaction only fueled curiosity. Kids wanted to know what was being hidden from them, why a simple phrase could cause such panic. And when they finally heard it, the mystery made it more powerful. It was no longer just a song. It was a secret.
Number 8. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by the Beatles.
Tangerine trees and marmalade sky.
3 letters changed everything. LSD. That was all it took for authorities to draw a conclusion that would follow this song forever. It did not matter what the artist said. It did not matter how imaginative or surreal the lyrics were. The suspicion became the truth in the eyes of those in power. The song itself felt like a dream slipping out of reality. Strange images, floating worlds, colors that did not belong to everyday life. For young listeners, it was an escape. For adults, it was a warning sign. Proof that something was influencing the culture in ways they could not control. So the bans came quickly. Stations refused to play it. Critics raised alarms. But the attempt to silence it only made it louder. Because when you tell a generation they are not allowed to experience something, they do not walk away. They lean in closer. And suddenly the song becomes more than music. It becomes a symbol of everything they are not supposed to explore. Number 7. Run for Your Life by the Beatles.
You better run for your life if you can, little girl.
This one hides in plain sight. Bright melody, catchy rhythm. It feels harmless at first. But then the words sink in. And suddenly everything changes. What sounds cheerful becomes unsettling. What feels playful turns into something darker. The lyrics carry a threat that no one expected from a band trusted by millions. A warning wrapped inside a love song. That contradiction made people uncomfortable. It forced listeners to confront something they were not ready to face. The idea that even the most beloved voices could carry dangerous ideas. Stations did not always ban it outright, but the unease was there. Parents noticed. Critics questioned it. Because this was not just about music anymore. It was about influence. If kids sang along without understanding what they were repeating, what did that mean for the future? And that is where the fear truly lived. Not in the song itself, but in how easily it could slip into young minds unnoticed. Number 6. Gloria by Them. There is something raw about this track that refuses to be controlled. It does not follow the rules. It does not try to behave. It feels like it was pulled straight out of a garage and thrown onto the radio without permission. And that is exactly what terrified people. The delivery is intense, almost primal. The energy builds with every second until it feels like it might explode. For adults used to polished music, this sounded reckless, unpredictable, even dangerous. They believed this kind of sound could inspire rebellion without words even needing to explain it. So the bans came quietly in some places and loudly in others. But no matter how much it was pushed away, it kept finding its audience. Because kids did not want perfect. They wanted something real, something that felt alive. And Gloria gave them exactly that. A sound that could not be contained no matter how hard anyone tried. Number 5. Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones. Timing can turn a song into a threat, and this one arrived at the worst possible moment. Streets filled with protests, voices rising against authority, tension everywhere. Then suddenly a track appears with a title that sounds like a call to action. It did not matter what the song truly meant. The atmosphere did the work. Leaders feared it could push people further, that it could turn frustration into movement. So cities reacted. Some stations refused to play it. Others pulled it immediately. The message was clear. This was not something young people should hear. But that only gave it more power. Because when the world already feels unstable, a song like this does not create chaos. It reflects it. And for kids trying to understand everything happening around them, this felt honest, direct, unfiltered. It did not pretend things were fine. And that truth made it impossible to ignore. Number 4. I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. This was the moment everything became too obvious to ignore. The frustration in this song was not hidden. It was loud, direct, and impossible to dress up as something harmless. Adults immediately recognized the tension inside it. Not just personal desire, but a deeper dissatisfaction with the world itself. That is what made it threatening. It questioned everything: the promises, the expectations, the idea that life would fall into place if you followed the rules. Instead, it said the opposite, that something was missing, that the system was not delivering what it claimed. For young listeners, this felt like honesty. For authority figures, it felt like rebellion. Some stations edited it. Others avoided it completely. Because once kids start asking why they are not satisfied, they stop accepting easy answers. And that shift in thinking is far more dangerous than any lyric.
Number 3. A Day in the Life by the Beatles.
I read the news today, oh boy.
This song did not shout. It drifted. It unfolded slowly like a story that refused to stay simple. And that is exactly what made it suspicious. The imagery felt strange. The meaning felt layered. And to those already on edge, it felt like something hidden was being communicated. Authorities focused on a few lines they believed hinted at drug use. That was enough. The decision came quickly. Ban it. Remove it. Keep it away from young ears. Because anything that could not be easily explained was treated as a threat. But the real power of this track was not in what it said directly. It was in how it made listeners feel. Disoriented, curious, a little unsettled. It encouraged people to look beyond the surface of everyday life. And that kind of thinking was exactly what authority feared most. Because once you start questioning reality, you never see the world the same way again. Number 2. Light My Fire by The Doors.
Know that I would be a liar.
One word changed everything. Higher. That single word was enough to spark panic across networks and television studios. It was interpreted as a signal, a hidden reference to something dangerous. And suddenly, a song about connection became a controversy. The pressure to change it was immediate. Performances were monitored. Lyrics were demanded to be altered. But when the moment came, the original line was sung anyway. And in that instant, something bigger happened. It was no longer just about music. It was about defiance. That act turned the song into a statement, a refusal to be controlled. For kids watching, it felt like witnessing a boundary being crossed in real time, proof that authority could be challenged and ignored. And once that idea takes hold, it spreads fast. Faster than any band could ever contain. Number 1. Louie Louie by the Kingsmen. No one could understand it. That was the problem. And that was the fear. The words were blurred, slurred, almost impossible to decode, which meant people filled in the gaps themselves. And what they imagined was far worse than reality. Parents panicked. Officials reacted. Investigations were launched. Not rumors, not exaggeration. Real authorities spent years trying to figure out what this song was saying. That alone tells you everything about the level of fear surrounding it. The truth was almost absurd. There was nothing there. No hidden message, no secret corruption. Just a simple song misunderstood on a massive scale. But by then, it did not matter. The damage was done. It had already become legendary. Because once something is labeled forbidden, curiosity takes over. And that is what turned this track into the ultimate forbidden song every kid wanted to hear. These songs were not just banned. They were feared, misunderstood, and sometimes completely innocent.
But that never stopped the panic. Because once music starts changing how people think, it becomes impossible to control. And that is why these tracks were never meant for kids like you to hear.